I always thought that no show ever got better after 7 years. Like Mary Tyler Moore was a perfect example of a show that uh, got better and better and then went off on its own terms and done. And it, as I said, that we found a way to extend it, maybe an eighth season by having Robert marry Amy. And then and I thought definitely eighth year is it. And I had a finale story in my head, and it was this story. And I wrote it out, even the story, and I knew this was going to be the end of season 8.
When did you first conceive of the story?
Midway through season 8. And around that same time, everyone was clamoring for us to stay more. Actors, the studio, the network, the newspapers, my parents. And because I took the show very seriously and because I cared about it, I at least owed it to everyone, including myself, to consider this and say, you know what, let's meet with the writers. Let's see, because I don't think there's any gas left in the car, but let's see. Meaning, we did 200 shows. It's enough. You know, how many fights can these people get into? You know, we should maybe have another family and let them fight. You know, that it's enough. You don't want to repeat, and you don't want to do bad shows. That's really the driving force behind why we stop. Because the money is there, the friendship is there, the fun is there, the ease of it is there. That's all not the reason to go another season. The reason should be is the quality of the episode and of the stories. Do we have the stories? So we meet with the writers, and I say, in 2 months, let's come into this room and let's see what we have for a season 9. And we'll consider it. Okay, 2 months go by, everybody thinks up some stories, they come in, there's maybe 6 good ones. I say, okay, I knew this going into this meeting, we have 6 good stories. We can double that number by the time they have to be ready. So I go to CBS, okay, we're gonna do 12. They said, oh my God, that's fantastic, can you make it 18? I said, no, 12. They said, please, it's gotta be 18 for this. And I said, I'm sorry, that's a... They said, 17. I said, 13. They said, please, can you, 14? They said, 16, done. Okay, so we did 16. That was my big compromise, was 4 extra shows that, you know, and we thought of them, and we were happy we did them. We like every story that we do, or we don't do it. But I said at that time, now, this season, season 8, was supposed to be 24 episodes, but I'm not going to do this one I have. I'm saving that for this. So you're only getting 23 episodes this year, and we're doing 16 next year. And this story, this will be our finale. So that's why, and that's how.
Did you tell anybody what it was at that point?
The writers. Yeah. Listen, I need them all on board. I need Ray on board. I want these guys on board so that I'm not just by myself saying, here's what we're doing. It was never like that. I would never do anything without the approval of the others because their opinion mattered greatly to me. They're great writers. And Ray's opinion mattered greatly to me. We would discuss and argue over what was best, but that's healthy. That leads to a better product. Well, there's a lot of ways to end the show. You don't want to... People want some kind of closure, and people want some... But what I found was, especially looking at the finales that were coming up in the recent years, these shows were ending in such a way that the whole episode became about how we're ending this show. In other words, how we gotta destroy the foundation of what we built. We have to tear the house down. We have to, all the friends have to move away. Frasier has to be off the air in Seattle. All these things have to happen. And some of these finales were very well done. But I thought, what if we did more of a typical episode? What if we came in to their lives in the middle? What if we left in the middle? Wouldn't it be nice to know that your friends, your family, are still there? We go away, but they're there. And by the way, you're going to see them in syndication anyway. It doesn't have to end. Families don't always end, you know? The family doesn't have to move away. And by the way, it couldn't be that because we were doing that the first episode of the night season. It's not that, right? But how do we distill what the series is about and make it clear in our final half hour? And it's going to be a half hour because I don't like the hour-long bloated thing that is only an hour long for the sake of being an hour long because you can sell more commercials and make an event out of it. Eventize, that's the word that they use it. We got to eventize it. So how we're eventizing this finale is we're doing a 1 hour documentary about the show before the show, but the show is the show. The show is a half hour. Mary Tyler Moore ended as a half hour. We're a half hour. And I want to do something I haven't seen before. So this is what we're doing. Ray talks funny. We know that. That's a premise of the show. He has adenoid trouble. So he's got to go get his adenoids out. Well, since he's a hypochondriac and a baby, he makes a big deal over this. And he has to get this operation, and he's scared to death. And everybody's, what a baby, what a baby. And he makes everyone come to the hospital because he's getting his adenoids out. And it's all about Raymond, and, you know, they're there. And they're making fun of him and whatnot. And the nurse comes out and says, Mrs. Barone, yes, he's not waking up. What? He's not responding. We're trying to wake him up. Well, she breaks down, and the whole family goes insane. And it's very dark and scary for about 30 seconds until the doctor comes out and says he's fine. Right? I want the audience. Now, we write it this way. Why do we do this? Why do we do this? And why can you only do this episode as the finale? Because there's no jeopardy otherwise. If we did it any other time, the audience knows he's not going to die. You have to write with the supposition that the audience is savvy and they understand television. They know he's not going to die if it's not the finale. That's why we could not tell anybody what this was, right? Because I couldn't give this away. I want the audience to be scared to death. What if you lost this guy? This guy you make fun of, this guy's a pain in the ass, this guy is all about himself, this guy who we love, ultimately. What if that happened to someone in your family? That scare. We know what that's like. Some people aren't so lucky. Some people, it's not over in 30 seconds. We know what that feels like. It's relatable. Oh my God, I almost lost you. But he's fine. He's going to be okay. It was a momentary scare, but they had that real moment. And then Deborah says to them, listen, what happened in there, Ray can never find out about this. Or his mother, because Marie left the room for a second. She missed this part. So the mother can't find out either. The second half of the show is a regular episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. It's about how Ray is, of course, going to find out. The mother, of course, is going to find out. And all hell is going to break loose. And we're going to have that fun. But at the end, how are we going to drive home the real point of the show? And to me, it was Ray at the beginning of the episode was complaining that they're always on him, you know, and Robert suggests, get a bigger table, you know, and he's like, no, get out of my house, right? And in the tag of the show, everyone's coming over. What's not being said is we're happy Ray's alive and we're here, we're gonna have breakfast, whatnot. They're all crowded around the table. And Ray says, Deborah says, Ray, don't you think it's getting a little crowded in here? And he says, I think we need a bigger table. That's the show. That's the series, to me. This family is a microcosm of families everywhere, of our country, of the world. The world, you know, without hitting this on the head too hard, it's one world, right? And maybe we should get a bigger table instead of shutting people out. And we pull back, and this family eats and has their life together. I hope it's satisfying to people.
How was it to film that episode?
It's emotional. You can see. But because the content of it, and because of what the family meant to me, and because of what we all meant to each other. It was emotional. We spent 9 years together. That's high school and college and a little grad school combined. And I was not sad, and I'm still not sad. I'm welling up because it was a beautiful thing we had. And I'm so happy we had it, really. And I'm not sad that it's over. I'm so thrilled and delighted and touched that we got to do this, that we got to live this dream. And this American dream of, you know, what, where do I come from that I get to have this? Why am I so lucky? This is a great place that this could happen. And that hopefully we brought some laughs to people, and that it will continue as they watch. And the message is one of love. You know, the key word in the title is not Raymond, and it's not everybody. If you really watch, this is what we're trying to say. It's been an absolute pleasure, and aside from my own personal family, my children, my wife, my parents, my brother, this is the highlight of my life, to have gotten to express what family is to me, and share that with people, and hopefully have them laugh and enjoy it.